Welcome, everyone, to another sacred conversation. Oh, my goodness, I really, really love these. They are so special. And I always have the pleasure of chatting to women beforehand and then, of course, after. So it always comes a little bit longer. So today, some of you may have seen Rodine's one from months ago. I've done this, Rodine Isfeld from or Rodine Isfeld Designs. Hi, welcome back.
Hello.
And she talked about her life, because I've been talking about with women about things that they've had in life and how come they've done what they've done. Then Rodin and I've started the art jam for healing. We do that every week, so that's been a special. And something happened yesterday, so I'm going to light the candle to welcome in our spirits, guides, have everyone here, the light, also just to trust that we feel safe and trust and all the beautiful things. But yesterday, as we did our art jam, Rodine actually started talking about behind the scenes, and then we carried on talking afterwards. And I suddenly thought, what a great conversation. Because when you're an artist or someone in business or an everyday human being, people don't know what goes on behind the scenes. Because we can put on a brave face, you don't see the ugly phases, particularly like in art. All you see is the end result. And then often wonder, and people do this, the pricing behind it, the cost of a piece. So I thought we'd talk about that. So Rodine, I'm going to title it, Look into the World of an Artist. Handing over.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you for having me back again, Chantal. I love our conversations. And of course, I'm so lucky to get to have similar conversations with you once a week. So, but this is even better.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It is, because with those ones, it's both of us, whereas this one I wanted to be more about you and what you do, you know.
Okay. Alrighty.
Have your voice.
Well, thank you. So for anybody who doesn't know me, I'm Rodine Isfeld, and I am a teacher by trade and an artist by calling, I guess, from soul. So I discovered about 25 years ago that I had a little bit of talent, and it was completely by accident. I was working with a student in the art room and I played with the paint and, didn't think anything of it. I liked it and put it in our staff room because I was on my coffee break, and lo and behold, people came in and they were arguing about who was going to steal this painting I had just made and left on the table. It was the funniest thing because I was like, I didn't understand that at all, right? Yes. And that was my first inkling that, well, I kind of enjoyed it and people liked what I did. So maybe I should explore. And so I did. And I had always wanted to, I don't know how many of you have watched or seen Bob Ross when he was alive in his videos. No, Bob Ross is an icon. And he used to be on our little local public TV station. And he had these half-hour painting shows. And he would come on and he would paint, and he had this big, he was Caucasian, but he had this big, wild kind of afro hair going on. And he reminded me of my dad, honestly, because my dad kind of looked like him too, right? With his big hair. I guess that must have been the 70s, right?
Yes.
And so I would watch him paint and I was just mesmerized by what he was doing on the canvas. And he made it look so easy. And so when I decided, I think I'm going to try this painting thing, I decided to try his style. And so I took the very first lesson I took was at like one of my favorite art stores, and from this lovely woman, and we were painting this picture, and I was just like, I was completely hypnotized by the paints and by the mixing and by everything, the prep, and we had to tape around the canvas, and it was really the grandest adventure that I think I'd ever been on, right? Getting this painting ready. And then she's teaching us how to do all of the brush strokes and lay the colors. And I'm like, oh, it felt so good. And it looked good. And to see, you know, the sky, the sun, the sky, and then trees in the background and coming forward. And then, you know, I think, what did we paint? I think we even painted a little cabin, and there was a boat, and I got crazy and I painted. The way the painting was, it looked like there was a frame around it and then black right on the edge. And so I painted my flowers to come out the one corner and drip down. And I, you know, I had my face right up to the canvas, and I'm doing all these things. And I was just like, oh, I think this is good. And the instructor came up to me, and when everything was done, and she said, oh, your painting is beautiful. And I'm thinking, yeah, you have to say that to people because we've just paid you, right? And I'm like, oh, thank you. And she said, so how long have you been painting? And I went, I haven't, aside from this little doodle I did, like. And she said, what do you mean you haven't? I said, this is my very first painting class. I said, I've never painted before. And she kind of looked at me, and she looked at my painting, and she said, you're really good. Like, you're really good. She said, your painting is incredible for this being your first time painting. She said, you have a natural ability with the paint. And I was like, oh, thank you. So who knew? And so from there, I think I took 2 other classes with her because I just loved her. And she then actually invited me to, she was having a little gallery show at a little gallery in a smaller town. And she said, hey, if you want to come and put one of your pieces in, you know, come do that. So I'm like, okay. It was this grand adventure, right?
Yes.
And from there, I just started to let the paint talk to me, let the canvases talk to me, and play around and explore and see what happened. So, and from there, I'm, you know, now 25 years later, I've played around with different mediums, and I'm back to painting my Northern Lights, which did at that time kind of became the direction that I went in, because they just called to me. They just, you know, flowed from me and called to me. And quite, so there's a very long-winded introduction into me getting into oil painting.
Yeah, and I love it because what I'm going to write here, love your energy, the excitement, delight. And what you're doing is, because I've only just started doing a bit of art, but I still have a lot of hesitancy. So I'm thinking, oh my God, and what I'm loving is, and what I can feel myself expand. I can see the brushstroke. I can see, you know, this all happening, and it feels fantastic, you know. And I love hearing your story, because what it's showing is that, okay, not everyone has that ability just to sit down. But like, I love the way you said, hypnotized by mixing and prepping. Well, see, to me, that's all, oh my, I get impatient. I want it right done now. It's also a little bit my personality, right? But I sat there and thought, that's given me an idea. Why don't I enjoy the prep? Why don't I enjoy sitting down? Why don't I enjoy, you know, I love that. You know, teaching the brush strokes and layering color. I find all that. I wanted to have it done like this, you know?
Well, sometimes I still want to have it done like that too.
Sure you do.
But
I'm glad to hear you're human. And that's not...
There are days. There are days.
Yeah.
You know what? Everybody's artistic process is different.
Yeah.
And I don't know what it is. I mean, I love working with acrylics too. But there is just something about the oil paints for me that feels like home, right? It just feels
Yes.
like I've known it forever.
Yes.
And I mean, I'm not crazy experimental with my process either, right? Like I still pretty much, I just started to play around with some new things, but I mean, I have stuck to what I first learned because it worked. It worked well all the time. And I'm just quite content with that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes. Yes. And I like that because again, you worked out fairly well quickly that oils is your what you love. Whereas at the moment, I'm doing watercolor and I'm doing a bit of acrylic and I'm doing a bit of oil pastels and I'm doing a little bit of charcoal. But as you said, it's okay because for me, I'm enjoy. It's part of my mental health. Part of my
Yeah,
supporting me as well as wanting to just do something different. So I love how you're saying that because again, each person's different.
absolutely.
Each
Yeah.
person,
And everybody's going to connect to a different medium in a different
that's
way,
right. That's
right?
right.
I have never connected to watercolors. I think they're beautiful. When I see your work,
Mm.
right? When you've been working with the watercolors, I mean, I drool over that. I'm like, oh, look at those colors and look at, and yet I just have not the watercolors watercolors are like, yeah, babe, you can just keep going. Right? I'm like, but come on, talk to me. No, they
Yeah.
don't.
And I like, again, talk to me, don't. And I also like that because that's another thing, I suppose, metaphor for life is how do you allow flow to happen, intuition to happen, that then you allow it to talk to you. So I look at this also in my business, how I want to do things, write posts on Facebook or my blogs, and then knowing if it's no, okay, it's not meant to be, is then okay, it's not meant to be. So not pushing through because we are taught to push through to keep going rather than just going, you know what?
Right?
No.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you're doing that.
Yeah. And you know what, actually, I really love that you've tied this whole artistic process to life because um it, for me it is so intimately connected to my soul, to my core energy, to
Yeah.
my very, very being. And so it was also painting was a huge part of my reconnecting to myself
Yeah.
when I started healing from my PTSD. I was so disconnected and I felt so untethered. That's what I would say. I just felt
Yes.
untethered. And it was, interestingly, my northern lights that called me back. It was like they just started whispering. It's like, come paint us. You have to come paint us. And so when I finally did start to set up, I did really, I absorbed myself in that process, like taking out my brushes. This isn't one of them, but like just looking at them, and they were just full of memories and energy. And because I used turpentine and the oil paints and the way they smelled, it was like, whew. I mean, it was an incredibly powerful reconnection for me. And the Northern Lights were what wanted to come out. And so that's when I started really painting again. Right. But so talking about, art and life and the connection to our creative process. When I sit with a canvas, I do have to wait for it to tell me what it wants to be.
Yes.
I can think something out and if it doesn't respond, then I know that that's not it. And so then I have to just be open to, okay, so what would you like to be? And that is particularly acute when I'm working with the oils. With the acrylics, it's not, acrylics seem to be a little lighter, more fun, or not quite so definite about what they want to be, but I'll tell you, my oil paints are very clear about what they want to be. So even, and you and I were talking about this. So I'm stretching outside of my comfort zone too, because I've decided I need to experiment with faster drying mediums to add to the oil paints so they dry faster. So I played around. I use a wet on wet technique. So I was playing around with using a different wet medium that would dry faster. And so this is without the, well, you're getting glare.
Actually, no, I'd suggest you do put it on your easel if you can, and then we can see it properly. Because and then you can go through if you're okay to do that.
Okay. Yeah.
So I think it's important. And what I'm loving while you're doing that, again, it's how. So for me, the word came up was patience. Like you said, you need to be patient. You need to allow it to happen. Again, that's part of life. And particularly when we've been through something traumatic, we everything's like this. Everything's micromanaged. Whereas here, you've got to let go and step into the unknown. You've got to let go and expand into this, let alone trying something different. I mean, at the moment, my heart is, oh my God, that can be really hard. So, okay, so carry on. So you just try and wet on, what was it? New medium?
So I was just trying a different wet medium that will help the paint dry faster. So this was experimentation, but I also had this idea for having northern lights and these wild, crazy clouds in these kind of this fantasy type of setting and the waterfall. I thought, I'm going to throw everything into this painting. And of course, as I did the lights, I realized it's not flowing as nicely as I like and what I'm used to. So I played through, because part of me kind of wanted to quit here, right? Like the first row of clouds, it's like, yeah, no, I'm not liking this. I don't like how it feels. It feels very wrong. It's not moving. And it's like, no, just keep going. Like just play, right? So I did. So I threw in the waterfall and I threw on the trees but it's experimentation because I'm testing new things. And when we start to test new things and step into into those territories that we haven't been in before, it's a little like, oh, do I go? I don't have to. I can step back because I can be safe and step back, right? It's like, so I did. I stepped into it and I played through and played with it. And it's not perfect, but I learned a lot, right?
Exactly.
I learned a lot.
You did it. And what I'm also loving is that you've had the courage when I asked you to do this conversation and to show a piece of art, because often we don't want people to see the behind the scenes.
It's true. That is so true. Yeah.
But
we want to keep it hidden.
Exactly right.
Right?
Exactly. And you don't want to tell people that you're not liking this, not liking that, but this is part of the process. And that's why I wanted you to share. Because I know if my partner as well, when he was doing jewelry, now photography, people don't know what goes on behind the scenes. They don't understand. There can be frustration, there can be excitement, there can be, you lose your art, like he's lost photos, because something went wrong, you've done whatever, it hasn't worked.
Yep.
People don't understand that. But you are a gift, in my opinion, because again, we can take that into life. Become adventurous, become like a child. I look at it as like the childlike curiosity.
Mm-hmm.
And I love this, testing new things. You stepped into it. And sometimes I say leaning into it, but also can be leaning back. So it's how do we, because in life, when things happen to us, we lose that play, we lose that sense of adventure.
Yes, we do. Because we see an outcome or we have an expectation, and that is what it has to look like and be like for us.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
This isn't what I saw.
Yes.
It wasn't. And you know what? It's okay. And it has its own beauty. And I certainly learned, like, this is almost dry. So it's like, oh, that's awesome, right? That's fantastic. So I just need to play a bit more. But if I hadn't continued on with this, I wouldn't have figured that out. I wouldn't know, right?
Yes.
So,
yes.
So this is number one. I also have, like in my head is a series of Northern Lights. And I say in my head because they've been talking to me. I'll mention that one later because I just get really excited, but I'll get this one up. So, and this one is still wet. So it doesn't dry as quickly. But so then I have this idea for Northern Lights that are in the shape of angels. I've seen photographs where that's what it looks like, or they look like eagles, but it was the angels. And so I have to play around with how to get them to look the way I see them in my head.
But again, I suppose this is why we got talking. Does it need to be that way? Because you can also let yourself down. You have an expectation. Not only that, you're not allowing, possibly, coming back to what you're saying, the paint to talk to you or the art to talk to you. So it can also create limitations, isn't it, when you have something in mind? And then a disappointment. I know for me, whatever I have in mind never comes out the way. So I've had to be really mindful. I've had to really practice and learn to go, that's okay. I did it, number one. Yeah. I tried it. And in fact, something completely different came out because somehow that filtered through. No, not that, this. And also I'm inexperienced still. So, you know, and that's fine because I'm inexperienced. You know, I don't know how to play, like I don't understand all the different mediums, you know. At least I'm not creating mud anymore, the color mud. So that's
mud. I've made lots of mud in my time too.
Yeah. Yes. So it is, and I think this is why, again, I'm going to say it again, why I really wanted to talk with you about this, to show people that whatever it is you want to create, or whatever it is, and again, creation can be setting tables, knitting, woodwork, words, because I've learned to use words in a whole different way.
Yes. Whatever it is. And that creativity, whatever that is for you, does show up in so many different ways.
It does, doesn't it? Because when I do my journaling now, because I've been journaling for years and I've been learning to do different ways, you know, particularly as I'm writing my memoir. And I read a really good book, and I can't think of it off the top of my head now, but she got you to really think bizarre things, like putting words together that don't make sense and that. So I started playing with that for a while. And what was interesting was, like, again, this morning, or suddenly some words came through, like, I can't write that. What does that mean? And I thought, no, write it, because that's what's coming through. Allow it to come through. And not only allow it to come through, but actually act on it. And that's what you're doing. You are acting on it.
Yep. Playing around, because I have a 3 foot by 6 foot canvas. That's the one. I can see it. Now, this isn't my vision. This is what this specific canvas has told me at this point. It could change its mind, but that's what it's told me it wants to be. And so I'm like, oh, I mean, it's a huge canvas, but I am so excited. So when I look at this and the play, knowing that, like, I can feel this other canvas, these angel auroras that are just waiting for me to be ready. They're like, oh yeah, right? Go girl, right? They're encouraging me because they're going to be born through this process. It blows my mind sometimes how otherworldly this process is for me.
That's it. And I can really feel your, pardon?
How powerful it is, really, right?
And it is, and that's why, again, I really want to talk, because it's giving me the expansion, excitement to explore in different, you know, ways, you know, like really trust, in my case at the moment, the words that come through, trust things that come through, listen, act, allow yourself to play, be patient. Patience for me is going to take a while, admittedly. But I love how but also what I love you're doing, you know, it's calling, you know, it's there, but I love the way you said it's waiting for you to be ready. Now I think that's a really
Yeah.
important point, because I might have, in the old days, even though I might have still gone in the bull in a china shop, got to do it now, you know.
Yeah.
But you'll wait, you'll know when to bring it out and put that first stroke. Oops, you're frozen, my beautiful friend. Okay, she's frozen.
I was frozen.
Yes, now you're back. Now you're back. That's right.
Yes.
So, but what I'm saying is, I love, you'll know. That's what I'm loving about, again, sharing with people that I think I mentioned, you might have heard that, like I would be in a bull in a china shop wanting it now, but you were
Yeah.
waiting. It knows, you'll know when to start and put that first brushstroke.
Yeah.
That is just, and
So
that
exciting.
it is, and I can feel the excitement. This is again what it's exciting. We've lost sight of that excitement, that childlike, that, you know, puer, just that being, you know, just, yeah, fun, joy, delight.
Yep.
And that's,
Absolutely.
again, that's the energy you're bringing forth into the world. And I don't know, are you going to do this? Are you actually going to record the different stages?
Yes, I think I will. You know, recording when I'm working on black canvases, it's so hard to get the right lighting so that it actually shows up in the camera on the camera. But I am definitely going to record that one, because I mean, it's gigantic. It's taller than I am. And I have to figure out how to, because I don't have an easel that it's going to fit on.
Yes.
So I think I have it figured out how I'm going to kind of mount it on the wall in my studio.
Yeah, that's a creative process in itself, isn't it?
Right?
It's practical,
Yeah.
but creative, you know?
It is. Because I have to think, okay, am I going to be comfortable working straight up painting? Because often I actually like to handle the canvas and behind, and then I can move sometimes or hold it. So yeah, it's this whole big process, but it's all really exciting. It's like, oh yeah, I get to figure that out. It's like puzzle pieces coming together, right?
And that's what I'm thinking, is even documenting what you're saying now. So this can be part of the documenting.
Yes.
You know, can you write and talk and write it and have, because that would be an amazing story to share with people, you know, the delight, the process, what happens, you know.
That's true.
Mm.
Ooh, and you know something? So here we go. We're always learning and expanding, right? You saying that, it's like, yeah, that actually would be really cool. I think I would want to watch someone do this whole process thing. And yet part of me, there's that part of me that the little girl in me is like, no, I don't know. We can't do that because, oh my gosh, right? Like it's so vulnerable for me, or I'm so vulnerable when I'm creating, right? So oh, that was interesting.
It is interesting, because the thing is, you can document it, but it doesn't mean you need to show it. You know, again,
it's true.
You can give yourself permission. You can document it. You can document part of it, but not all of it. You can word like parts that are vulnerable or tender, you could just do as writing. So this is another, again, exploring what feels, and the canvas will tell you. I'm sure the canvas will tell you this part, you know, yes, no, do it as writing, or even just do it as a still, you know, and then write. You know, so there's different ways you can do this.
Lots of different ways. Oh, now my brain is going,
I can,
oh,
it's easy for me to tell you to do that.
It's even more exciting now, because that's right.
I
mean, that's fun too. I had the hesitation, but now I'm like, no, that would be fun.
Yeah, it would be. You could create your own folder or somewhere to put it, or you could create your own closed Facebook group, just you and it, so you can start document, or somewhere where you can have or somewhere where you can have where it's all in one place, you know.
Yes. Yeah.
So anyhow, so on that note,
I love that.
on that note, what is, as we're ending, Rodine, what is it you'd like to say, like as an ending? What would you like to say to people? your wonderful words of excitement, wisdom. And by the way, everyone, we will have Rodine's contact details in the description. So what would you like to say?
What I like to say, you know, I would love for anybody watching to just take that time with your creativity in whatever way that is. And even for 2 minutes, just really step into it.
Yeah.
Whether it's cooking a meal or whatever it is, right? Just to really let it move through you and into you and have fun with it.
Yeah.
Like, have fun with it.
Yes, I think that's it. And have fun with it. That's a beautiful way to end, because it is, again, we lose sight of fun.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Thank you, Rodine. Anyone who's watching, you know, please feel free to comment or get back to you what resonated, you know, even if you're happy to share any vulnerabilities, like your own hesitations. And also to say that this has given you a little bit of impetus, because I know it has me, to do something you've always wanted to do, but just haven't quite stepped over. So yeah, thank you again, Rodine, for your time. That was just delightful. It's just really given me a real sense of opening and expansion too. So thank you, my beautiful friend. Appreciate that.
Thank you, Chantel, so much. And you've just inspired me too. So
yeah,
I love how that works. Isn't that wonderful?
it is, it's special. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.